This is 7 News High School Red Zone Review Preview.
And hi everybody, and welcome aboard on this Thursday night as we get set for week number 10 of the High School Red Zone. A lot of big games on Friday upcoming that'll determine playoff positioning, playoff brackets, frankly, in the second to last week of the regular season. In week number 9, there were some significant ball games. Let's start out in the 3A ranks. The Woodruff Wolverines going at it against Mountain View Prep. This is a game that essentially would decide the Region 3 3A crown. It turned out to be quite the return to action for Aiden Gibson, the great junior running back for the Wolverines. He had missed their previous game with a leg injury, gave him a 7-0 lead in the first quarter with the run you just saw. Then Curtis Bell from Connor Davis made it 14-0 late first quarter Wolverines. As for Gibson, pretty little move. 72-yard run on Woodruff's way to a 21-0 lead early in the second, under 4 minutes to go in the opening half. How about some more Gibson? Stays hot. This time, pretty nice moves. 43 yards. Woodruff was up 28-7. Under 2 to go before the half, and Gibson, what a night he had. Over 300 total yards, 5 touchdowns on the night. Wolverines rolling on and avenging a 2-point loss against MVP last year in their first ever meeting. They won decisively this year by the final of 49-28.
Most definitely, we took it personally. It's just another big game, and we're going to treat it like another big game. Hey, they did all that talking on social media. Remember, every team, social media talking don't get you nowhere. We come out and compete, and that's what Woodruff do, and we're going to keep on doing it.
An animated Aiden Gibson. What a soundbite he is, as he and the Wolverines now sitting in good shape in Region 3 3A. Now, last Friday began with 3 area unbeaten teams still. BHP one of them, the number 1 team in 3A. They've been mowing down opponents. That would not change, albeit on artificial turf at Crescent. MJ Earl with the touchdown. Mason Evans later connecting with Malachi Hester for the Tigers, but it's not enough. BHP has won all 4 meetings against Crescent. They go to 8-0 and 2-0 in the region. It was Crescent's first region loss in Region 1 3A as BHP rolled 55-28. Ware Shoals among those unbeaten going into last Friday, along with BHP and MVP. So we saw MVP lose, BHP win. What about Ware Shoals? Well, Jaden Johnson with the TD against rival Dixie. The Ware Shoals Hornets were trying to snap a 6-game losing streak against the Dixie Hornets. Well, they're able to get that done. Here's Brandon Nance, some good work for Dixie, which came in with a 6-1 record. Both teams were 2-0 in Region 1 1A, but on to the victory went Ware Shoals by a final of 58-33. Abbeville trying to keep pace with the winner of that game in Region 1 1A, beginning the night 2-0, and trying to extend its winning streak against region opponents to 48, going back to last decade. There's Darius Riley with a touchdown after the team fell behind 8-0. Abbeville scored all the points from there. Panthers rolling on to a 4th win without a loss against the Wolves, 57-8 as they knock off Whitmire on the road. Now in the 5A ranks, Gaffney Indians, the team that was trying to stay unbeaten in Region 2 5A play, on homecoming at the reservation, taking on a team from another reservation. That would be Riverside. Banks Boughton. Fun things happen when he gets out of the pocket, and in this case on a 4th down play, rolling and throwing, and Quintus Hines on the receiving end. Justin Dawkins on that drive, putting together a nice run. That got him close. Kareem Shaw, the direct snap, gets it into the end zone. Riverside actually tied this game up early on, but Gaffney pulls away. They're 7-0 all time against the Warriors. They've won 5 in a row on the season as the lone unbeaten in Region 2 5A. They are now 5-0. Dorman and Wade Hampton, meanwhile, now that was a Dorman team that was trying to keep pace with Gaffney, knowing they've got the Indians coming to their place coming up on Friday night. Wade Hampton trying to avoid a 22nd straight loss, but Jordan Darby, special teams play, getting it done for the Cavaliers. Later on, Meek Slidell and Corey Cole hooking up on that pass. What a beautiful catch by Cole. Defender right on him, doing everything he could, but, well, Cole using the crown of the helmet to pull it on in and get himself the touchdown as Dorman moved on to the victory. They've won 12 in a row in the series, 52-7. Spartanburg on the road trying to keep pace with the others around them in the standings against Matt Reel and Boiling Springs. Pretty competitive ball game. Emory Logan with his team down 21-7 in the fourth quarter, extending that play for the Bulldogs. But Jay Undra, Cohen Foster stepping up big with the sack, and Centel Hall coming up with a nice tackle. And then R.J. Estris with the interception for Spartanburg. That denied Boiling Springs points. Trenton Lynch, another big game, 150 yards rushing. He was banged up in the ball game. They're hoping he can be in action for their contest coming up against Burns. Spartanburg getting the 21-7 win. They've won 5 out of 6 in the series. Meanwhile, Burns trying to get back in the win column. It was homecoming at the home of the Rebels. Well, it was just a 7-0 Burns lead at the half. They didn't score till late in the second quarter. Lucas Tankersley with the sack of Kane Rogers, who would come on in relief at quarterback. Eastside got the ball early third quarter, but they fumble on their first snap. So Jacoby Fuller and the Rebels offense able to go back to work. Nice run there to set up a 41-yarder for Zach Reinert. Made it 10-0. Burns moving on to the victory. They've won 10 in a row against the Eagles going back to 1996. It was a grinder, but they pick up a 5th win on the season. They're 3-2 in the region. Again, trying to get the best playoff position they can with a huge one coming up against Spartanburg on Friday night. Well, other action in Region 1 4A, Fountain Inn trying to get what would be arguably the biggest win in program history against the reigning region and 4A runner-up Westside. The touchdown by Kaylin Powell gave the Rams a 27-14 lead. In the third quarter, Bear Woods later to Jai White, freshman to freshman. A vastly improved Westside team, which had a really rugged schedule early on in the season. Powell later punching it in. Westside moving on to the victory. That is another impressive effort for, well, Bear Woods and company as they win it 48-21, a 4th straight victory.
We just keep plugging away. I mean, it's a long season, so we play tough teams at the beginning to get us ready, you know, for region and playoffs. So we attack every game as a region championship. Next week is no different. So we try to go 1 win a week because that's all you can play. We can't worry about anything in the future. We have no control over that. We control what we do today.
And what they've been doing on a lot of recent days is winning, as they're now 3-0, and a huge one coming up next week against Wren. Speaking of the Hurricanes, in week number 9 of the high school red zone, they were trying to improve to 3-0 in the region, taking on a Lawrence team which had picked up its first win of the season the week before. There's Jacob Owings to Matthew Casey. They have revamped the offense with Wren, and they are just as productive as they were with different faces getting it done last year. Muntu Brown front and center of that. He's now a 1,500-yard rusher, had that 80-yard touchdown as Wren gets another victory against Lawrence. They've now won 4 of the past 5 with a 45-28 win. Other action last Friday in the high school red zone. Corey Fountain and Clinton trying to put a stranglehold on Region 1-2A. A typically good night for their running game. In fact, a new program record. 533 yards rushing. KJ Vance bouncing around, gets it in for the touchdown, made it 30-0 in the second quarter. And Javen Cook, a new program record, 334 yards. He also tied the program high with 5 touchdowns. Cook is having a tremendous season. He's over 1,200 yards rushing. Clinton wins again. They have won 4 in a row. They didn't play any 2A teams till they got into region play. They played some really tough opponents outside of the region, but they are now priming themselves and getting ready for postseason play with a 56-14 win. Just some of the action that occurred in week number 9 of the high school red zone. We'll check out some more in a moment, but let's talk about things. Todd Summers, Mariah Ross, and I discussing various topics. Here we go. Todd, you've gotten a chance to see the 4 contenders in Region 2-5A, really pretty much 3, but of Burns, Dorman, Spartanburg, Gaffney, just kind of give me an assessment of those teams as you get ready to cover Dorman and Gaffney this week.
Every time I see one of those teams play, I think, okay, I think I've got this figured out. And then they play, and I'm like, okay, maybe I don't have it as figured out as I thought I might. I mean, I watched Dorman beat Burns, and I thought, wow, they established the line of scrimmage. This Dorman football team's, back to the glory days. And then I watched them go play Spartanburg, and, Spartanburg looks like they're dominating the line of scrimmage, and Trenton Lynch is taking off. And, I've seen Burns and their running game and Trey Segura and all their different weapons have success early in the year. and then they've struggled in region play a little bit against the higher level competition. And I'll get to see Gaffney this week. It'll be the first time I've seen the Indians play, but I was over there on Monday and talked to Banks Bowden and that situation. And it's unique in that the other three schools that are, in the region championship mix all have great running backs. And Gaffney has a great running game that goes through the quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see how he does against Dorman. And that football game could very well decide the region championship. It gets a little bit confusing because a Gaffney win, the Indians are region champs. If Dorman wins over Gaffney, then it comes down to a tiebreaker. And for Dorman to get that tiebreaker in its favor, they also have to be leading Gaffney at the end of the third quarter and then go on to win that game and also beat Eastside the following week. So it gets a little tricky, but it's high school football. So that's, sometimes things can get a little tricky.
Regions can pick ways to do tiebreakers. They went with one. That's kind of a salad bar of options right there. Great running backs in the area. We talked about it before. Mariah, you covered a Clinton-Landrum game this past Friday that had Clinton as a team establish a new rushing record for their program, 533 yards. 334 of those on 13 carries for a Clinton record by Zoom Cook. He threw in 5 touchdowns. He's an impressive guy. You've seen him a little bit this year. What's your take on him?
Like you said, just a very impressive player. Those 334 yards, again, a school record, and he tied a school record with those 5 touchdowns. He had 34 points, which is another school record. So he just continues to reset the records books for Clinton High, and just overall a great player for them. Those 334 yards added to a season total of 1,284 yards. He has 25 total touchdowns, and we know Max Preps is not a perfect science. Not every school updates their stats, and they haven't quite updated the stats for this last game for Cook, but if I did the math correctly, he is in the top 10 in rushing yards and tied for first, again, if those stats are correct, with the 25 total touchdowns. So that big O-line continuing to impress, and Javen Cook really the engine that continues to make that Clinton offense go.
And he's probably been held out of fourth quarters in some games because they've run over some folks as well. Todd, maybe the best running back in the area, and again, we have such depth in these parts, but boy, it's hard to argue with a healthy junior at Woodruff, Aiden Gibson.
Last week at this time, I said, Trent Lynch is probably the best running back I've seen play football this year. He had 252 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a win against Dorman. And then I go watch Aiden Gibson play against MVP. And Aiden Gibson says, don't forget about me. He goes for almost 300 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns on the ground, and also adds a 50-yard receiving touchdown. I've seen Aiden Gibson now play 2 football games. I also watched him play against Fountain Inn. He has 9 total touchdowns in those 2 games. So right now, Aiden Gibson is the best running back I've seen play football this year. And he certainly makes the Wolverines go, and he's got a little bit of an edge to him as well. After the game, I was talking to him, and he was pretty fired up for the win, kind of went on a little bit of a rant about playing the game through social media. That doesn't work. You have to play it between the lines, and that's how they do it at Woodruff. And he's fun to watch, and he's fun to listen to as well.
Yeah. And then at Wren, Mariah, you saw a running back last week as well in your coverage. Montu Brown, we're showing him on these high school red zone shows each and every week, and he seems to bring kind of a physical presence along with some decent speed.
Yeah, you said it. Running backs like, Javen Cooks, they are speedy, they're elusive, they have a certain way of breaking tackles, kind of shifty. And Montu Brown is certainly capable of that, but he can also just run straight through a defender, and that's something I saw him do a lot when they took on Lawrence. He had a season-high 287 rushing yards to go with those 3 touchdowns, and that adds to his season total of 1,527 yards, 19 touchdowns for him. And he, like we've been talking about, the engine that makes them go with over 190 rushing yards per game. His just over 1,500 yards, is second in the state, and that's behind Seneca's Amari Werner. Again, all according to Max Preps, which isn't fully updated at all times, but we have a ton of really, really good running backs in the area, and it's been very fun to watch this season.
And that we do. We've got some really good teams as well. Powdersville taking on Palmetto, a couple of district rivals in Region 2 3A last Friday. Kagan Reed got together with Bennett Brooks, got some good quarterbacks too. That one for a touchdown. Powdersville made it 5 straight wins. They stay unbeaten in the region in the driver's seat at 3-0 with a 45-14 win. St. Joe's taking on Southside Christian, a key ball game as these teams have Powdersville ahead, or at least St. Joe's had Powdersville ahead. That was Keldon Rona with the Southside Christian touchdown. Another win on the road for Southside Christian. They took down the Knights and Jack Stewart. All 3 wins this year for the Sabres on the road. Stewart taking a big pop right there for St. Joe's. And Christ Church, which had lost the week before against Powdersville, going at it against Carolina, trying to make it 14 straight in the series. No trouble at all. Judd Wyndham, Hampton Shields for the touchdown. Christ Church moved on to another win. They improved to 6-2, 2-1 in the region, but again, that one loss to Powdersville, which would own the tiebreaker for the top seed. Coming up in the high school red zone, we preview a huge showdown in Region 2-5A. It'll be a battle of quarterbacks who, let's just say, haven't been around for a while. That's coming up as we continue on the Review Preview. Couple of teams trying to make something positive happen. Chapman without a win over its first 7 games. They were trying to continue a winning streak against Union County. Quay Brannon thrown to the wrong guy. Keelan Tucker with the interception that set up the offense, and Jayon Petty hooks up with Blake Williams for the touchdown. A Panthers team that was averaging just 13 points a game going in scores just enough. They win 30-27 to get off the schneid and get into the win column on the season. Welcome back into the high school red zone in Region 2-5A on Friday night. You've got 2 major showdowns. Burns and Spartanburg really for playoff positioning in 5A Division I, and a battle that probably decides the region championship. Gaffney and Dorman go at it. The quarterbacks in each case are, well, still getting familiar with their teammates, if you will, and Todd Summers has the story.
When Hurricane Helene hit the Asheville area hard just over a year ago, Meek Slidell and his family were among the thousands affected.
The hurricane hit my house, so we moved down here to Spartanburg. I have it for a purpose. But the teammates made me feel comfortable, brought me into a good program, and now we're winning.
A 3-year starter at Asheville High, Slidell has transitioned well to a higher level of competition, completing nearly 70% of his passes for just over 1,000 yards with 6 touchdowns and 0 interceptions.
I think he did a good job at first of coming in and getting to know the guys, and that's the most important thing. Can he fit in the locker room? And I think he did a great job doing that. And then his play speaks for itself. I mean, he's done a tremendous job for us all year.
While the Indians are also finding success with a transfer quarterback, it's happened a little bit differently as Banks Boughton swapped G's on his helmet, going from Greenville to Gaffney, but not necessarily to be the starting quarterback.
I was coming here just to contribute. I came here for the culture and the community and the team, so if that meant defense or special teams or quarterback, that was what I was going to do.
However, he earned respect through hard work and a physical brand of football that ultimately played a part in preseason starter Javon Gilmore leaving the program just 3 games into the season. And Boughton has been front and center in the Indians' current 5-game winning streak.
I knew they were good, but I didn't really understand what it meant and what it means to everybody. I mean, I have little kids coming up to me knowing my name, middle schoolers, elementary school kids, knowing my name, which is unheard of. It's crazy to me.
And he's now in Football USA town, if you will, because that's just great that young kids are coming up to him. Let's get back to the action from last week in the high school red zone. In Region 2-4A, Greer and Seneca, Amari Verner, Mariah mentioned him earlier. He's up over 1,600 yards. Best we can tell, he leads the area in rushing that touchdown in Greer Seneca battle. Seneca got the win to go to 8-1 and 4-1 in the region. Another touchdown by Verner. Granted, the 1,600 yards coming in one more game played than others, since Seneca will wrap up its regular season against Pickens on Friday, but still, Verner and the Bobcats have been quite the show this year. Daniel, which knocked off Seneca, handed them their only loss earlier in the season, trying to get to 4-0 in the region and make it 17 in a row against their cross-county rival Pickens. Jace Gross having quite the debut year for the Lions. He and Trey Wembley are some kind of combination. Great catch right there for the TD. Later on, it's Gross and Kingston Bibb. It was an early 14-0 lead for Daniel, and they move on to the victory. They're 7-1, 4-0 in the region. Their only loss earlier this year came against a higher level and visiting Stratford team from down in the low country. In Region 1-5A on Friday night, last week in the high school red zone, Hannah trying to remain unblemished. They were looking to extend a long winning streak that goes back to the mid-'80s against Man and bowling over people. Jamarian Boston for the touchdown for an early 7-0 lead. Cam Aiken for a team that's averaging about 330 yards rushing per game. Well, they make it 11 straight region wins, and they extend their current winning streak to 7. Hannah moved on to a big win in Greenville, 55-17. Greenwood and Woodmont, and Greenwood trying to get a road win and at least stay 1 game back in the Region 1-5A standings. Tristan Lewis, so tough to bring down once he gets into the open field. Lewis then going to take it in for a score. Greenwood has won 9 of the 10 meetings against Woodmont. Woodmont hasn't beaten a team with a winning record since August of 2022. And, well, that trend continued for them last Friday in a 49-7 loss. Elsewhere in Region 1-5A last Friday, Malden and Greenville going at it at Serene Stadium. Evan Hruska with a nice fake and then connects with Malden's Micah McClintock, and that's going to go for a touchdown and makes it 14-13 Greenville. So back within a point of Keyshawn Farrow, and the Red Raiders are the Mavericks. He sheds defenders, though, finds Wes Brunson. That set up a Trip Brunson. Big connection on the old option play to Arkia Shell. Not near the goal line. Then the quarterback sneak by Farrow for the touchdown. Greenville moved on to the victory, 21-13. Their only loss in the region is to Greenwood. Greenwood's only loss in the region is to Hannah. And Greenville and Hannah still have to play each other. And Hillcrest and Easley at the home of the Green Wave. Hillcrest trying to extend their winning streak against the Wave to 5 straight. Josh Smith looking to have a hand in another win, in this case using his legs, 35 yards on the sprint for the touchdown. Rams had a 35-6 lead. Josiah Coleman having a very nice job at quarterback this season for Easley with the keeper. Cut the Hillcrest lead to 35-13, but Jalen Samuels, a 55-yard sprint for Hillcrest, and the Rams a 49-20 winner. They get their 5th victory on the season. When we come back, we wrap up this edition of the Review Preview with our plays of the week. Stay tuned. Plays of the week from week number 9, play number 5. Dom Cole, Fountain Inn running back, some extra yards. And eventually, well, it's Westside's Dom Cole who strips the ball from the Fountain Inn running back and takes it the other way. What a great defensive effort. Turned it into offense. A kind of a scoop and score for the Westside TD in their win. Play number 4, St. Joe's Jack Stewart. Quarterback keeper looks like he's taken to the end zone. It's a 53-yard run. As he turns the corner, gets close to pay dirt. Let's just say after the big gain, there was some pain. Visiting Southside Christian got the win as well. Play number 3, Greer's Xavier Samet on a connection to Tucker Hudson. Look at the catch by Hudson. Reels it in with the one-handed grab. Pretty play right there for play number 3 in the Greer loss against Seneca. Play number 2, Meek Slidell and Dorman with a big one coming up against Gaffney. Well, Corey Cole on the receiving end uses his head, well, in this case his helmet, to pull the ball in. Defender right over his back. He actually won the tug of war as well, as Cole got the touchdown with an assist from his helmet and some extra strength too. And play number 1 in the Woodruff victory, Aiden Gibson did it all, including a great job keeping his balance at the line of scrimmage and then racing for a 38-yard score. More than 300 yards of total offense for that junior running back who is something special. A lot of big schools after him, and that's an example why. We invite you to join us on TV on Friday night, 11 o'clock on Channel 7, 11:35, the CW62, a full half hour there for week number 10 in the high school red zone. We will see you then for that. Thanks so much for joining us for this edition of the Review Preview. For now, Pete Yanity saying so long.